Hey, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this Board of Supervisor meeting to order. The date is December 13th. The time is 9:02 a.m. I'm going to ask, I wasn't prepared. I'm going to ask Supervisor Chance Conant to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I see some smiley faces out there. That makes me happy. That's a good sign, pretty good sign. So today we're going to start out with a presentation. That's the recognition of the Ad Hoc Advisory Redistricting Commission members, and Damien will be presenting. And I'm going to ask that everyone stay up here when you're called up, receive your certificate, and then the 5 board members are going to come down. We're going to take a picture collectively.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Chiesa, members of the board, CEO Hayes, and County Council Bowes. I'm Damian Martinez, Senior Management Consultant with the Chief Executive Office and the Project Manager for our 2021 Redistricting project. So it's been a short amount of time in terms of the work that the Commission has done, but it's been a tremendous amount of time, energy, and effort. And so today marks a very important day for a lot of the work and the energy and the time. Frustration on the part of many people who participated in the process, but we ended up getting to where we needed to be. So just to give a brief overview of the work of the Commission and the process. So on April 20th, 2021, this board approved the formation of the Ad Hoc Citizen Advisory Redistricting Commission. And for a review of the work that the Commission's done, which we've talked about several times here in front of this board, the Commission served in an advisory capacity. And I just want to make a note of the advisory portion. This was volunteer. It was late nights, long hours, and some contentious but very healthy conversation and discussion about. So they volunteered their time, and they joined us on this long journey. So they served in advisory capacity to the board, worked collaboratively with the steering committee and the project team to draw proposed district boundary lines, and provided 3 map alternative recommendations. And I just wanted to say a few comments and recognize, I know this is for the Commission, but I also want to acknowledge and recognize the steering committee. And so there are members, if I could just turn and see who's in the audience for the members of the steering committee. So you have one right next to you, CEO Hayes. We also have the county assessor, Don Gakel. Planning director, Angela Freitas. Our registrar, clerk recorder, Donna Linder. Am I missing anybody who's here? And our Assistant Chief Executive Officer, Raul Mendez. And am I missing anybody else? I think that I've got everybody here who's in the audience. So I want to thank the entire steering committee who also worked tirelessly in this process, attended the meetings as well. Dave Lehman's not here, but want to recognize him as well. And for the project team. And so, again, the project team did a lot of the behind-the-scenes work on the weekends, in the evenings, constantly working tirelessly behind the scenes. And so a lot of the work that you see with the presentations, the map, a lot of us worked collaboratively, and we had a wonderful team in terms of collaboration. And so that's County Council Bowes, who shared in the project manager duties. So thank you to County Council Bowes. Deputy County Council Sean Wahid. We have Aaron Harris, who's also done a great deal of work. Kirsten Reisig Drisdall, who's in the audience. We have Tim Niblett from the Information Technology Central Department as well, Tatiana Mendoza. And I'm looking around to see who else is in the room. So I just want to thank the entire project team, who our own clerk of the board, Liz King, as well as part of the project team. So if I'm forgetting someone's name, please forgive me. There were a lot of people who were involved in this process. And just to highlight the timeline, so this process began February the 9th. It actually began late summer of 2020 with early discussions on redistricting, if you can imagine that. The board approved the formation of the steering committee, project team, and ad hoc citizen advisory redistricting commission on February the 9th, and then approved the members on April the 20th. And we're going to talk just very briefly about the number and the time of the meetings and the commitment. So just to provide a review of the actual time commitment. So the commission members attended introductory meeting, 2 hours, orientation meeting, 2.5 hours, pre-draft community workshops that went for 2 hours, so we had 7 workshops at 14 hours. We had map drawing meetings at 12 meetings. At some of those meetings went 4 hours. We had map drawing tutorial sessions, 5 sessions at 2 hours, and our public hearings for 4 of the public hearings. And so it is, I guess I can't stress enough the amount of time and energy that everyone dedicated. We also had our consultant, Q2 Data and Research, who provided a great deal of advising and consultation, and Graphica Design, our translator in the back of the room, who was with us the entire way of the pre-draft community workshops and here at the hearings. And some of the time that it was last minute in terms of giving him the presentation and information, and he was able to translate it effectively and clearly, and did a lot of, actually did a real-time translation. So we're very indebted to you, Roberto. Thank you so much for your time and for your energy. So now what I'd like to do, make a few brief comments, and then I'd like to call each of you up one by one. And when I call you up, if you can please stay up here. So the commission members, just as a review, that we had two commission members representing each district. We had 1 commission member at large, and then we had 5 alternates. And if you recall the process that we went through here, that the board appointed randomly selected members, but they also appointed an individual from their district, and then the one was selected at random at large. We also recommended to the board that we have alternates, and in the event that someone could not serve in the capacity. So there are some members that you'll see as I read the names who were unable to participate in the process for a variety of different reasons, and so we're really glad that the board allowed the alternates to be part of this commission. So there may be some names that I'm not going to read, and we're going to move on to those who are able to complete. But I do want to acknowledge those who were not able to participate, to thank you publicly for at least going through the actual process. Life happens and things happen, and so that you can't necessarily anticipate. So I want to make sure that I acknowledge those people who actually participate. So let me just read off those people's names who were unable to participate. Angela Garcia, Cecilia Huddleston, and April Henderson Potter. So thank you for engaging in the actual process, although you weren't able to participate, but thank you so much. So now what I'd like to do is I'd like to read the names of the people who participated. And again, I can't thank you enough for your help, your energy. For those of you who attended these meetings, they were, I would say, high energy, interactive, and the information is highly, highly complex, particularly for those who may be experts in it, but also for the layperson. Very complex, a tremendous amount of data, different types of programs, and so it was quite a challenge. And this commission hung in there, and they were dedicated, they were responsive, and I can't thank you enough for all the work and energy that you put into this particular process, and so thank you so much. So with that, I'm going to read the names, and then if you can come up, I'll hand you your certificate, And then I'd like to turn it over back to the board, to Chairman Keza for comments and direction of this presentation. So I'd like to read off the names, and if you can please come up here if you are in attendance. So Perfecto Munoz, who represents District 1. Anakin Varani, representing District 2. I know Anakin's here. Woohoo! Christine Schweiniger from District 3.
Christine, I gotta say, woohoo!
Carmen Morad from District 3.
Okay, that's another woohoo. Pressure's on everybody else here now.
Miguel Donoso. I didn't see him here. Mark Looker.
Woohoo! Oh. That's an early morning woohoo. That's my only woohoo.
Kimberly Ochoa, representing District 5. Didn't see her. John Mataka, who said he couldn't be here this morning. Andrew Ganassi.
Right, District 1.
Right.
Show them how it's done.
Sam David, alternate from District 2. I didn't see Sam. Alex Samano, alternate from District 3. I didn't see him either. Solange Altman, alternate from District 4.
Oh, that was a lot better. See, I needed one underneath my belt before I could.
And last but not least, Steve Brooks, alternate from District 5.
Attaboy, Steve.
So we could just give them a round of applause, and I'll turn it back over to Chairman.
Okay. We're going to come down. We'll come down there and take a picture. But first, I just want to comment. I said mad props. I've seen this happening up and down the state through CSAC, our state organization. It hasn't been as organized. When you look at the folks and the time commitment you put in, and I know some of the alternates have really participated, which has just been outstanding. I'm truly in awe. This is supposed to be a nonpartisan position, and you carried that out to the nth degree, shown by our board voting 5-0 on your preferred choice, and that's not the way it's going in the state. So it's really because of your hard work and dedication that has allowed us to adopt that without any changes. You know, the last time we did this 10 years ago, I guess Supervisor Wither and myself were on here, we had time to go down and cut out little corners in one road to get a school district in, and there was no opportunity. And you did a perfect job to as well as you could with the time commitment. So I'm so thankful. I'll let my other board members, if they have some comments too, but again, from me to you, thank you. Any other comments?
I'll just add in to that. Thank you guys for the time. When we went back and looked through the hours, you know, we expect to have to do this stuff, but you guys have day jobs. You have other stuff. We have day jobs too, I guess, but we appreciate the time and effort that it took to do this, and it was just such a compacted, you know, a lot of pressure was on you. And like Vito said, as we came back from CSAC, our California State Association of the Counties meeting, it was amazing how it wasn't working in other areas and just how smoothly it worked here. And it really comes down because of the efforts of you guys. So we appreciate you all very much and all your time and efforts in this. So thank you, and I guess see you back here again in 10 years, okay?
Agree with both of my colleagues. This wanted to point out the amount of map drawing sessions and just meetings in general. I think that's very commendable. A lot of the counties had hesitancy to even put together a commission because they knew that the time frame was really short because of the data coming out on the census. But you guys, all of you, putting all that time and effort, and with staff leading the charge to make sure that they were available if somebody wanted to see, hey, how do I do this map? How do I have, a question? And they were really quick about doing meetings in the community. And you all attending and showing that confidence in the process really gives us a lot of credibility as a community to say that we did the best we could to make sure the maps were equitable and met all of the laws that needed to be met. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I'm just going to echo my colleagues. Thank you for your time and effort. And because of your hard work, we were successful in putting this map together and voting for it. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to express my gratitude and appreciation for dedicating your time. I know we all have families and other things to do, so thank you so much. It's greatly appreciated.
If you guys just step forward.
It's a big group.
Okay, you guys ready? 1, 2, 3, smile. One more. Got it. Thank you.
All right.
Frustration with it. You know what? Every 10 years you can't get it right. That's a good way to put it.
Oh, it's funny, there is no public comment. That takes care of that. Huh. Okay, now we're going to move on to item 3, public hearing to consider the introduction, waiving of the reading and adoption of the ordinance amending County Code Chapter 1.08, adjusting the boundaries of the Stanislaus County Supervisor districts. And
I will have the introductory remarks. It looks like we're still doing a little bit of technical setup. But
before you get started, Roberto is in the back, as always. Wave your hand. If they're for translation services, if necessary, there are also copies right up here, right next to Patty on the front desk, if you want to follow the PowerPoint presentation and or the item. Okay, sorry.
Okay. All right, I think I want to start off by thanking Damien here as soon as he turns around. You know, Damien and I started this process off together, and, you know, when we when we realized that we were not going to have the census data in the normal due course of time, both Damien and I got really concerned, but, you know, Damien has this personality, just, hey, everything's going to be fine, everything's going to be fine, you know, and he really, you know, if there's one person that you could turn to in this process and say they really was the glue to make this all work, it's Damien, so I want to thank him personally for helping us pull this off. And Aaron got a little concerned too. You could, you know, he doesn't get stressed often, but you could see it in his face. Oh man, that data's coming out late, right? So we got the census data in September, and you know, I think one of the best things we did was put together the commission, because I think they really helped us pull this thing together and land this in what I think is probably the best place that we could land with this map alternative that we have in front of us today. And you know, it's been a very short time period. We haven't had the time to do the process that we really wanted to do, and that we would normally go through to make sure that we had looked at all of the other things that you want to look at, such as school district lines and other things like that. But you know, I think where we landed was a really good place. And with that, I want to turn to Sean. Sean, are you ready?
I am.
Yeah.
Good morning, Supervisors, Mr. Hayes, Mr. Bose. So we have for you today is a short presentation, just giving a general overview of the process, legal requirements, and then
Pull the T.
sorry, and then recommendations. Sorry about that. So what is redistricting? It happens every 10 years. It's based on the federal census. We have to adopt it by December 15th, and as you all know, we got the data late. We should have received it under normal circumstances. We should have received it in March. Would have given us a lot more time, but unfortunately we didn't get it until September 27th, which resulted in a shortened timeline, which we all know. So here, you've seen this slide, the shortened timeline. So I just want to reiterate that the prior preparation and getting the Citizens Commission and all of our project teams established allowed us to get the community involved. And that's what it's about. So we were able to get public input and offer a transparent process and to ultimately meet our deadline. So we were able to do 5 or 4 public hearings. Today's the 4th public hearing. 4 are required by law. We actually did 5. So the 5th one was the first one, which was a community workshop, which we were allowed to do in lieu of a public hearing like this. So we're exceeding all expectations by all measures. So the next slide here shows you the mapping criteria in order of priority. And you can see the top one is equal population, then it's compliance with the Federal Voting Rights Act, and then communities of interest, respect for cities, designated places, and then drawing shapes that make sense and not having funny lines and funny shapes. So these criteria are all at a constant tension with each other. There's a push and pull. We have to reiterate and or we have to make sure and comply with the law in this order. And that's the difficulty, and that's where the tension is making sure that we hit each one of these steps. And one of the snags that we hit then is the Voting Rights Act, Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act specifically. We found ourselves in a situation where, based on the demographics and the census and the resultant legal analysis, that we might be in violation of Section 2. And so we had to come up with a remedy, and that remedy was to create a single district that had, with all the other criteria in mind, a majority, minority plus, as I call it, concentration of Hispanic citizen voting age population. There was another option to create 2 districts that had majority, minority, that would have put us at probably 50.1% Hispanic CVAP. That wasn't inadequate, was not an adequate remedy because of historic low Hispanic voter turnout. So we wanted to give this specific block in compliance with the law an opportunity for the votes to matter, to be in compliance with the law, and to remedy any past structural inequalities. And that's what we've done. So we have draft maps 3, which was approved by the board at the last hearing, and I'll put that over to Aaron Harris from ITC. We've seen these maps, and he can go into further detail about the changes.
Yeah, so on this district alternative 3, we had small changes down to District 1 that they took Village 1 and removed some of the other ones from District 4, giving it its lower half, and also giving the Empire area to District 5. District 2 pulled in Waterford into it, and then gave a lot of its western boundary to District 5. District 3, it did another give and take with District 4 and 5, where it grabbed more land from District 5 and then traded a little bit back and forth with District 4. District 4 had a lot of changes done to it, where it grabbed in, took some of the West Modesto population from District 3, the South from District 5, and then parts of District 1 was given to 1, and part of 1 was given back to 4. And then also with 5, losing the northern side, bringing that borderline down to giving it to District 3, changing some of the property lines along the northern part of Hatch Road went to District 4, and then reaching all the way up into District 1, grabbing Empire, and then also taking Keys from District 2.
And so here we have now just the breakdown of the population, the Hispanic citizen voting age, just in that table for everyone to see that we did. We are within 5%, which is the target goal for deviation from district to district. And, oh, sorry, I skipped a slide there. Here's the one I was talking about. So we were able to increase the Hispanic citizen voting age population in District 5 from below 54% to above 54%, which puts us in a good position, especially given the fact that we didn't have any type of magic number or population percentage to hit. We were kind of forced with this choice of balancing that issue with this danger of wading into a territory where we would be in violation of the 14th Amendment and equal protection. We didn't want to engage in any type of race packing or anything of that sort. So this map that was chosen balances the need to remedy the issues with polarized voting, but also maintains integrity of lines, local cultures, the population, and the interests of the community, as evidenced by the adoption or recommendation by the ad hoc Citizens Committee. So here we have a link to the redistricting website. All the information will be on this website for 10 years. And then attached to the agenda item, we have drafted some findings. The findings reflect the reasoning, the rationale, the facts that we know that have led us to the conclusion or the recommendation or adoption of the map. So they include documentation of the process, summary of legal conclusions, summary of public and advisory committee input on the maps, board commentary, and board rationale for the adoption of Map 3. After the hearing, we would encourage the board to make additional findings, to edit the findings as they see fit. So we want to make sure that those are part of the record to evidence our compliance with the law. So here are the recommendations after the presentation: to conduct a public hearing, accept testimony, adopt the findings as the board sees fit, introduce, waive reading, and adopt the ordinance, and adjust the districts. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take those.
Any questions of Sean? Okay. Seeing none, this is a public hearing. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. I have 2 speaker cards. First one, Rebecca Harrington. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Board of Supervisors, committee members, and I'm just going to say here really quickly, see, of course, when I want something, it doesn't come up. Let me just get back to where I wanted. I had, there was something that So from what I understand from the meeting, and I don't discount the efforts and work that was put into doing all of this, persons like myself who were on the max were not allowed to be a part of that because we at that point were elected officials, so we could not participate. But what I think should have happened is that districts such as ours that were going to be greatly affected should have been able at least to come in to the meeting to speak to the group as a whole so that they would understand what was going on in our area. So to me, this is no less in effect of gerrymandering. An area was gerrymandered to specifically have a certain element that was going to be represented. But you see, that is not the problem. The problem has been in this community of which I have been a participant for my 65 years as being Latina, Mexican, Chicana, whatever you want to phrase me at. I just don't like the word Hispanic because I don't feel that that is accurate, because that is complicit and compliant to how other people want to view our community. My dad always said, are you a part of the solution or part of the problem? From what I understand that happened at this meeting, there were certain individuals who were a part of the problem. They hijacked that meeting in a context that made it very uncomfortable for a lot of people, and they spoke, as they said, on behalf of this community, but they did not speak on my behalf. They did not speak on my behalf of my community, which is the South Modesto 9th Street corridor area that is part of the South Modesto MAC. So in doing so, they made something very difficult that should have been easy to do with some trials and tribulations, because everybody has to get into the understanding of what is happening and why. With that being said, I'm very disappointed in how our area is going to be affected, because I've just found out again our area is going to be affected, that we're no longer going to be under the District 10 for Harder's office. So pretty much my community's gotten screwed. We've been set as no man's land. We've been called Tortilla Flats. We've been called all these other names. We've been called the North Syria North. I think that that was something that was not done correctly on their behalf, and shame on them, because they didn't represent me. They didn't represent my community. And that is what's disappointing in this map, because where our South Modesto MAC is now being split between 2 supervisors. No offense, Manny, but I pushed for Chance to be my supervisor because I felt we were going to have a voice, finally have a really good voice. Not that we didn't have one before, because with you, Vito, and you, Terry, you guys always stepped up. You came to my house, you came there when we had problems, you always put forth the effort, and it was greatly appreciated, and it's not gone unnoticed. But I just want you all to know how I personally feel about this, and how I feel that no matter what they did, it won't change unless the group as a whole that's being gerrymandered into representation gets on board together to work in a unified manner to bring about the change that is needed for the community. So that's my 5 cents for inflation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Yeah.
Thank you so much for those comments, Rebecca, but, and I know that the map has me and Supervisor Condit in that district, but I've already spoken to Supervisor Condit about making sure that I'm attending your meetings regularly, so I will put that on my calendar, and you have my commitment to make sure that I work with you as an ally for the betterment of that community. So even though both are representing, I just want you to think that your representation's just been magnified by having 2 members represent that district. So you have my commitment that I'll be there and make sure that I talk to you and Matt to make sure that the concerns for that community are brought up to my attention so I can advocate for them.
Thank you. Next speaker card is Matt Harrington.
I appreciate your sentiments, Supervisor Grubel. I don't share them. Now, as the current MAC chair, the problem is that when I have a community member coming up to us in the meeting or out in the public, I have to now decide who goes where and what question. That doesn't help us at all. That just makes my job as the MAC leader at this time much more difficult. And it needs to be made easier with one supervisor. I've made this reference before that we are a cookie jar. Everyone will take something from my community, be it taxes or whatever, but when we break, and we've been broken for a long time, no one wants to fix us. This is not fixing us. This is dividing us again, because it's on the side of the South 9th that I live on, Supervisor Grewal will be my supervisor. Everyone on the west side of that will be Supervisor Condit. Again, this doesn't help us. This needs to be made a little more simple.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Is there anyone else that wants to speak during the public comment?
Thank you. Just wanted to come and say, first off, thank you to the staff that helped with this. It was a lot of work, a lot of questions asked and answered. Damien really did his best to keep us on task, make sure everybody knew every step of the way, we're doing this, this is what we're doing, this is what we're looking for. And Aaron, that poor guy, we changed maps on him about every 5 minutes, and he would just work madly tapping and highlighting and moving stuff around. And there's at least one spot where he spent at least a day fixing out maps for us, and we got to the next meeting, and 5 minutes in, we decided we didn't want to look at it. So we really appreciate the work they all did. You know, it's probably close to 40 hours within the group just looking at maps. It wasn't perfect, but trying to balance the communities, the legal requirements we had, opinions, lawyers. We did the best we could to meet the numbers we were legally required to, and just really wanted to take a chance to thank the staff. They really made this happen. Without their help and you know, kind of keeping us on the rails, that we wouldn't have gotten through this in the time we did. So, thank you.
Thanks for your service, Andrew. Anyone else? And I see Sam David's here now. Thanks for coming, Sam. Okay, if not, I'm going to close the public hearing. And before we get started, I think there's a couple of things because of what the Harrington said. And I want you to know that from what I can tell, there's no intent from anyone on the commission to split that. We've noticed that in Keys ended up in a similar situation. They went to a dividing line of Keys Road, which made sense. It makes sense, but the Keys MAC goes south, I think all the way to Barnhart in that area. And is Empire split at all? No, Empire's not. So it's just, the two of them. But I know there's no malintent. The time constraints of us not being able, because I can remember 10 years ago sitting down with Rick Robinson and him showing me the map because we had so much time, and I said, Houston School District goes to one more road over on the east side. And so we were able to make those slight adjustments and understand all the issues of all the layers, special district layers, MAC layers. And the timeline was trying to get a map to us with the public hearing schedule. It was set, it's been set for quite some time, and so there wasn't that ability to do it. And so I do understand. I'm just not sure there's anything, there's really not anything we can do at this point. And I apologize for that on a go-forward basis. I'll be interested to hear what my fellows have to say. I do know that the maps had met the requirements, and when we were tasking the commission to look at things, it was talking about the balance of the districts, the things that Ashan just went over, and really the performing CVAP districts, trying to get the numbers up, which I think they did a great job, and the communities of interest. Those were three key components, and I think we met those marks all the way through. I also want the public to understand that this is an every 10-year, and so the CEO's office is not walking around, that we don't have an expert walking around for 9 years. Only some of the people, Sean, this is the first time. I know that Aaron, this is your third time. You're probably the expert, but Damien is in the CEO's office and as part of the leadership team, and he was working on focus on prevention and COVID, and then he was handed this task and learn everything you can as fast as you can and be an expert and lead everyone for the next 6, 8, 10 months and to come out with something. This is an imperfect, for everyone this year, it's imperfect, but it's perfect because it met the marks. And that's what excites me about this. There are going to be some hiccups, no doubt about it. So anyways, I wanted to say that before anyone else comments. So any thoughts?
Yeah, I do share my colleagues' comments and also express Supervisor Graywall's support for South Modesto. Ms. Harrington is actually one of the first people to reach out to me when District 5 opened and encouraged me to run. And honestly, partly me being up here is due to her and to Matt. But I want to assure you that I'm going to fight just as hard for Bystrom and River Road as I would for any other area in South Modesto, whether it's in my district or not. And I do feel encouraged that I have an ally now who will also be representing those county pockets and who I believe will fight just as hard. And you can always contact me or Supervisor Graywall if there's ever a concern. If there is any overlapping, if you happen to contact me, I will definitely cue in Supervisor Graywall, and I know he would do the same. And I do believe that there is strength in numbers. I really do. I think having two supervisors in a way is sort of an advantage, even though we don't see it right now. I do think when it comes time to pressing issues such as infrastructure, lighting, curbs, gutters, sidewalks, I'm gonna rely on Supervisor Graywall, and I know he's going to rely on me when those issues do come up. And I look forward to attending those MAC meetings with Supervisor Graywall in the new year. And you will probably have two supervisorial reports on those evenings, and I know he's going to be just as accessible as I will be and continue to be. So I do appreciate you coming and speaking here today and expressing your concerns. But I'm going to be your champion, and now you have two champions. So.
Thank you. Other questions, thoughts?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Buck.
All right, yeah. Damien, Sean, Aaron, thank you for your report. Like the chairman was saying, it's not a perfect map, but it's a good map. It hits all the marks that we were after, and that's a direct reflect of all the hard work by the commission. Yeah, there are portions of it that I'm not happy about. I've developed relationships in the city of Waterford, which I will be losing. I've developed some great relationships with the Empire MAC, which I will be losing. However, I'm going to take those relationships and hand them off to the next supervisor. And we're going to stay in contact with trying to get the goals and objectives done. So, yeah, it's not a perfect map, but it's a good map, and it hits the marks that we were after.
Thank you. Appreciate the kind sentiments from my colleague. What this map really did for District 4 is I brought in, was able to bring in new neighborhoods that weren't in my map. I didn't represent South Modesto or East Modesto, but then also some of the Modesto neighborhoods that have traditionally been together, whether it's the College neighborhood, Sherwood Forest, La Loma, Lakewood. So it's an opportunity for me to build new relationships and to serve at a greater effectiveness for the city of Modesto. My district predominantly is all of Modesto, so everything I gained in the new redistricting is more of Modesto, and that gives me an opportunity to really advocate on Modesto's behalf to my colleagues here at the county. Again, the task we were put forth was to bring up the CVAP number, and I think staff was very accommodating in making sure that happened. But again, in the new territories or new neighborhoods that I get to represent, I just want to strengthen those relationships, build those relationships, and advocate for everybody. So I appreciate, again, the input, the work that the staff did, the work that the Redistricting Commission did. And I know staff's got a lot of accolades, but I agree with the sentiments of Andrew. Aaron, I felt, if you weren't a map expert because of everything you've done in the past, you've certainly proved it to me how well you worked with accommodating requests and making sure that what people were trying to convey was displayed on the map. So thank you for that as well. Thank you.
Again, thank you everybody for all your time involved, everybody on the committee. And this is the second time, as Vito said, that we've been involved in this process. And I know it is what it is. We have to go through this process. We have to draw these lines. But I can guarantee you that there's 5 people up here that represent Stanislaus County. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, we can put lines all over the place and say this is your area. But I haven't one time seen in the 11 years almost now that I've done this where we didn't have 5 people up here that weren't concerned about the entire county, regardless of where the lines are, where the district is. And to that, Rebecca, we love you and respect you so much. And you've got 5 people up here, and Matt, working for you and for your community as we work for everybody in this community. The lines are the lines, and that's where we get elected or not get elected, based out of who votes for us in those districts. But I can tell you, and sometimes to our detriment, we represent the entire county, not just our district. And so all of us are out there working for what's best for everybody in this county. So we go through this process. It'll happen again in 10 years. But we just always want to make sure that we have 5 people up here on this dais that represent Stanislaus County and not just their district. And I'm confident that that will continue. So I appreciate your remarks, Rebecca, and I understand your concerns. But we're all going to be there for you. I'm going to stop by your house again unannounced. Sorry about that time. But we will continue to fight for everybody in this county. So thank you all involved in this.
Appreciate the sentiment. There is no wrong door policy when you call the Board of Supervisors. I think that there's such good discussion that regardless of what district, if you get through to one of those lines, the message is relayed to the right person pretty quickly. So, okay, seeing no more comments, there are 3 staff recommendations: conduct the public hearing, adopt the findings set forth, and alternate number 1 regarding the adjustment of boundaries for supervisor districts, and the third is to introduce, waive the reading, and adopt the ordinance adjusting the boundaries of the supervisor districts in accordance with the adopted redistricting plan. Am I missing anything?
You got it almost all correct.
Uh-oh. Okay.
It was the attachment number 1.
Attachment number 1. That's it. All right, so I'll bring it back to the board for action.
I'll make a motion to approve all 3 recommendations by staff.
We have a motion and
Second.
a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Again, thank you to the Redistricting Commission and all of our staff for all the time and effort that you put in. This is truly amazing. So, thank you. Okay.
Adjourn.
And right before I adjourn, I just want to make sure I introduce Deputy Wortman in the back, who's been hanging around. Roberto, once again, thank you for always being here for us. We have great appreciation for you, too. All right, nothing else for the good of the order. This meeting is adjourned.